Hello, happy Wednesday. It's Matt Schoen once again. I am recording what I hope will be a concise and informative video to throw my support behind the Focus 2 career system. I want to keep this relatively brief because there's a second video that is also posted in conjunction with this, in which Troy Kase, the czar of the Career and Internship Center, is going to be walking you through what the what the Focus 2 system actually looks like and how to actually make use of it in the classroom. My goal with this presentation is to discuss career planning a little bit more philosophically and make the case for incorporating it within the FYS curriculum and paying some attention to it. All right. So what we're going to do here today, as quickly as I can, discuss the benefits and the value of career planning in a first year or a second year workshop here for the first year. Discuss the best practices for using the Focus 2 in a course or in a workshop, and then think a bit about how to measure specific course outcomes. The closer look at Focus 2, that's going to be handled by Troy Kase in the second video that is also posted this week. So let's get right into it. Why on earth would we teach career planning to people who have been in college for less than a semester by the time we're doing this in the FYS curriculum? There are values and benefits to doing this as early as possible. The reality is 60% of entering freshmen, according to Focus 2 data, have no career goals, no major decided, and most troublingly, no plan for what to do. And the quote here that I see, I have to declare a major. While I never had that thought or said that to myself or anybody when I was in college, I did know guys around the dorm who said something similar, like, I have to declare a major? I thought I was just here to take classes and then I would get a degree. No, buddy. A degree in what exactly? That's one of the choices tends to stress students out the most. And we know that students are not always making the right decision for them. I want to be careful here because I admit to interpreting the data on how often people change their major in two sometimes contradictory ways. 80% of college students, according to data that I recently saw, 80% of college students report changing their major. And the average number of times a major is changed is actually 3 times. So it's not even just that people sometimes are swinging and missing on the first pitch, they're swinging and missing on the second pitch too. Part of me is a bit nonplussed about that whole thing. And I say, well, look, it's the point of college is academic exploration and academic freedom. And if people make that decision, that's great. On the other hand, I'm not blind to the realities, to the socioeconomic realities of national and global society, in which there is a lot of pressure put on people to get a career that's going to afford them a stable life. So while I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with changing one's major, I think that from an institutional perspective and from the perspective of our students, if they can go into their major and into their degree paths with full information and fully confident, I do think that we can get to a better place institutionally as far as retention goes, as far as student satisfaction goes, and as far as just making these connections between the supply and the demand at every academic department and academic program that offers a major. So to this end, in order to smooth this process of thinking about what I want to major in, deciding upon a major, and then linking that to real measurable, realistic careers that one might pursue with that academic training that they get, What do students gain by using a computer-based planning system such as Focus 2, which is what the college has invested in and used for the last 2 years? Well, for one, there's an opportunity to engage a very large group of students in the career planning process early on. I'm not trying to take anything away from the individualized advising that many of our colleagues are known to do very well. To supplement that and to get it started and to provide talking points and discussion points for beginning this process, a computer-based system can take some of the pressure off of having to get this off the ground individually for every student. A computer-based system can be linked to, can help link student interests to specific majors and then link those specific majors to the career paths and the doors that specifically opens up. Research indicates that we see increased student success when the choice of a major matches the student's interest. That sounds fairly obvious. I'm not going to go too deep into that. But yeah, when the student is interested in the thing that they're majoring in, and then can link that to the all-encompassing question of, well, what can I actually do with that once I get out of college? There's generally higher levels of student success. Furthermore, having a career goal increases both student motivation to succeed and ultimate college success. Because anybody who's ever taught anywhere ever knows that motivated students tend to do better than unmotivated students. So having a path, like having something that students can look at and say, this is what I'm working towards, that's a big, big, big part of the motivation side. Using something like Focus 2 will help provide more students at the college with the tools to make an informed decision about major and career path. I think part of the reason people change majors so often is just they're growing up and they're changing. And I am one of those 80% that did change my major in college and changed it fairly late in the game as well. And so these informed decisions are a major part of doing holistic advising, right? And giving students the information they need about themselves and about the world around them that they're entering to make those decisions. And finally, using something like Focus 2 can really help standardize the Career Services Center and connect them to the resources available to the students. I've heard a few people in the last couple weeks say something along the lines of successful students use resources. That was true for me when I was a college student, and I think it's even more true today, and especially at our college. And so what this can help do is help students understand how career services can support their needs through the use of meeting with their advisors and then transitioning that to meeting with the Career and Internship Center. And we know, we've seen that colleges that promote using the Focus 2 system early, that is in a first-year seminar, a first-year experience type of program, have the highest repeat usage. So people they're introduced to it early rather than at the end where it's just kind of tacked on to a scramble that they have to engage in to get a job. They're coming back to it, right? They're continuing to use it as their interests develop and as they want to learn more about the opportunities that are afforded to them. Right? The key thing we're working towards here, and this is really my big justification for encouraging its use in FYS, we want students to develop what's known as a vocational identity. Vocational identity we're going to define as having a clear and secure understanding of one's career goals, abilities, interests, and values. Having an understanding of who you are as a person can help you really understand what you want to do for the rest of your life when you get out of college in hopefully 4 years, right? So the students that develop that vocational identity and understand these are my goals, these are the things that matter to me, these are my abilities, these are the things I'm good at, these are my interests, these are the things that really encourage me and motivate me. What are my values? What are the key things that are the most important things to me that I'd like to make part of my life going forward? If students can understand that about themselves and develop a vocational identity, they're able to select majors that are much more in line with their interests, with their identity. And if they can do that, they stand a higher chance of being better prepared for the types of careers that are going to make them happy. And happy students become happy alumni, and happy alumni become a big part of our college community and the long-term trajectory of our college. Research demonstrates that having this vocational identity can both strengthen and solidify reality-based vocational aspirations. Now, it sounds jargony, but it makes a lot of sense to me personally. When I was 25, my vocational aspiration, I wanted to be a professor. And that turned out to be a realistic pathway for me. When I was 10, I wanted to play for the Boston Celtics. Which was not a reality-based vocational aspiration. It was fun to think about wearing a Boston Celtics uniform as a 10-year-old, but it certainly wasn't the thing that was going to make me a successful adult. Unfortunately, I never got tall enough. And research also demonstrates that having a vocational identity can both strengthen vocational choice orientation and, most importantly for, I think, our purposes, contribute to the planning about their preferred occupations. That's important, right? Contribute to the planning. We know that a career rarely falls out of thin air. Something that makes you happy is usually something you have to work towards and plan for. Furthermore, research by independent researchers who evaluated the impact of using a system like this with first-year students have found that the system increases both confidence in first-year students' ability to make career decisions, particularly with self-appraisal, goal selection, planning, and problem solving. Put another way, I view this as a key part of building capacity to succeed in college, capacity to do college work. Much of what we've done so far and the resources that I've tried to distribute thus far have been pretty heavy on the side of in-class skills, right? Note-taking, study skills, right? The things you need to do on a day-to-day basis. And this is taking more of a 30,000-foot look and perspective at what's going to make people successful. Okay, so moving on to this connection between the interests that students have, which may be very nebulous to them, and the major, which is much more of a specific decision. A study from 2010 in the Journal of Counseling Psychology used a longitudinal data approach from a range of post-secondary institutions, wanted to test the effect of interest-major congruence, the connection between these two things, motivation, first-year academic performance on timely degree completion, right? So retention, right? Did you complete a degree at that college? And did you do it in a timely fashion? The findings were pretty clear. They suggested that if you have this interest-major congruence, there's a direct effect on timely degree completion across institutional settings, that motivation has some indirect effects by way of the first-year academic performance. So the total effects of both interest-major congruence and the motivation that students have on timely degree completion really shows us that there is an importance in including both these constructs, both congruence, like helping people see what's realistic, and motivating them to work towards something. So I see a lot of, in the trade journals and in the quantitative evidence, I see a lot of support for doing something like this. And what I'm particularly excited about with the first year seminar using something like Focus 2 is Focus 2 is known for using the Holland Code. I'll get to the Holland Code on the next slide in just a second. But if students that select majors compatible with their work interests and who they are as individuals, they are more likely to earn higher grades. That sounds like a good thing. Persist in their choice of major. Also sounds like a good thing. Graduate on time, definitely a good thing, and be more satisfied and successful in their career. Now, the Holland Code, some of you, I'm sure, are aware of this already, but I'll show you what that looks like in a graph here. The Holland Code breaks down individual attributes and values into 6 categories: investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, conventional, and realistic. And Focus 2 uses this as the bedrock for helping people understand what types of majors connect with your interests, and then what type of jobs are opened up with that type of major. And it's all done within a very Albion-specific context, which is great for our purposes of advising. So I'll just go through a few of these. If I just think about myself, right, this is no disrespect at all to anybody who falls into other categories, but when I took the Focus 2 personal assessment, I landed very, very strongly in this top light blue category, the investigative category. So if I just read that out, people who like to observe, learn, investigate, analyze, evaluate, or solve problems primarily of a scientific or mathematical nature. I kind of feel like I'm reading about myself when I say that. Now, when I looked at my results when I took the self-assessment, I scored very low in the artistic side of things. Again, no disrespect to somebody who scores highly there. I've had students that did score highly there, but it wasn't for me, right? It wasn't what fit with what I liked to do. And so in a way, this is like a really concrete extension of what I remember my advisor doing when I was a senior in high school, where we had to do this little exercise of like, hey, if you had $1 million, I'm sure that this probably happened to a lot of people. If you had $1 million, what would you do? Like not with the $1 million, like just if money didn't matter, what would you want to be doing with your day-to-day time? And that's supposed to help you understand, like, oh, if you pick a job that is what you'd be doing anyway, you'll certainly be happy doing it for the paycheck that it affords to you. So what I really like about this is it doesn't start with the discussion of what's a job you can do. It starts with the discussion of who you are as an individual and what matters to you in your life, and then moving forward to connecting that to the types of jobs that are going to make you ultimately happy. Okay? So in Troy Kase's video, he'll be breaking down the Focus 2, like the nuts and bolts of the Focus 2 system, how to take an assessment, and how to look at your results and interpret your results. I'll just say that from my perspective, I've done this with my first year seminars 2 years in a row now, and it's proven to be a very successful thing. I just make a day out of it, a life skills day, and we're going to get into career planning, which sounds scary, but it's really not, because it's about them. You can make it very much not about the careers, but make it about them. And then it becomes a discussion of how they fit into certain careers. So I made a day out of it. I took the self-assessment right along with them. I showed them my results. I had them take and look at their results. And it's a exercise that we did after Troy had come into my class and given a nice little lecture and done a fairly engaging activity on what these 6 types of these 6 elements of the Holland Code are: investigative, artistic, social. What type of person is that? What type of person is enterprising? What type of thing does that person do? And so I want to just strongly support making use of Troy in this regard. He mentions this in his video, but he's very open to coming into classrooms and doing this activity with your students. So if you want to turn your class over for a day to Troy and then use this in your advising, I support it and I endorse it, right? I personally endorse it as something I've done and had some success with. So that's the idea here. We want to move students from, like, help students develop understanding of who they are, connect that to majors at our institution, and then connect that to the doors professionally that will be opened by that major. That to me is a real strong learning outcome. Now, are we going to help students understand the exactly what they want to do for the next 45 years of their life? I'm sure that's ambitious for a 7-week whirlwind FYS curriculum. But I plan to dedicate a day to this and to use the results of that, and use what the student has learned about that themselves there in the advising that we're no doubt going to have to do in the second module. So yeah, that's what I got for you today. Please also make sure that you watch Troy Kase's video. And if you look on the course page, you will see on the FYS Moodle page, you will see a, God, I'm losing track of myself now. You'll see a subsection of the front page called Career Planning. And you will find there a link to the Focus 2 system, instructions written by Troy Kase on how to use it, and a sample activity that you can do with your students in order to help push forward their understanding of occupational aptitudes and majors and careers. So give that a look. I hope you consider integrating it into your class. And again, I want to reiterate that Troy is available to answer any questions you have about Focus 2, and he is available to appear in your class virtually or in person, depending on the situation and what everybody's comfortable with, to walk students through exactly this issue. So good luck. Thank you. Let me know if there are any questions or concerns. Take care. Have a great rest of the week.
Hi, my name is Troy Kase. I'm the director of the Career and Internship Center. I've been asked to give you guys an introduction to the Focus 2 product. We've delivered this or worked with a number of first-year seminars with the Focus 2 system. What we're doing with this system is we're trying to get students kind of introduced to the idea of, of course, thinking about career and doing some planning around that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what Focus 2 is, and I am going to focus on talking about what we've done with the first year seminars with this. So first of all, Focus 2 Career is something that we purchased, gosh, I think it's maybe been a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it's available for any student to go to and create an account, and for you to create an account at this focus2career.com. And if you want to do this, let me know. And what I'd like to do is add the instructors, professors for the first year seminars, add you into the system, so when students go and take an assessment, they're actually selecting you. It could make it a little bit easier if you ever wanted to have reports on which one of your students were in there. It might be a little bit imperfect because, of course, the students do have to select you, not somebody else. So here is the system. Once you log in, once you have an account, once you log in, and it is easy enough that I've been able to sit down in a class, do the presentation, have students create their account in the class, take an assessment in the class, and then we're able to discuss this. But I'm going to show you the whole system, and then, like I said, I'm going to talk about what I've tended to focus on in this. So this is what it looks like. You've got this career planning involvement. This, as you can see here, this helps students kind of understand, helps you understand too, where students are at, just kind of on the information that they might need to make a good career choice. This is not necessarily where we've focused on when we've done this in the class. I'm just demonstrating what some of these things are. Academic strengths, that's pretty straightforward. It's self-assessment about what they feel like they are doing well at in school. Then there's the career ready. What this is actually based on some National Association of Colleges and Employers career competencies. So this is actually fairly well, I'm not going to say researched, but employers and colleges across the country have said these are the skills that students need. And this is a self-assessment to see where students are at on those things. So in the first year seminars, what we've focused on is doing the interest assessment. Now, I'm going to say interest is only one component. And honestly, say you and I were sitting here and we're talking about, career counseling stuff. I'm not going to spend all of the time on work interests, right? That it's a nice place to start a conversation, to just start thinking about what interests somebody and how different occupations match up to those. But it's just, it's a part of a much larger piece. And as I do workshops with the students, I let them know, you've got to take these results with a grain of salt. I just want you in the mindset of thinking about what interests you and what occupations might match. In fact, when we go through some of the results, I show them my results and how my work interests don't seem to match what I'm doing. But if you go into my values assessment, which is not something I often do in the classes, things actually do match up nicely. So, it's just a nice way of saying, these aren't perfect, and sometimes they're not going to match. But why don't they match up? And what are some of the other things that you're considering when you are making some decisions, some life decisions about where you're going? So when I do these as a workshop, it's generally about a 45-minute workshop. I come in and I do some very interactive presentations, with the students and have them kind of, think about these different areas of interest, which are realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. And, we do some exercise around that, and I'm able to really all the time get them to be pretty interactive with that. And I think I could deliver this pretty well on video too, if that's how you're teaching in any of these classes. So let me know if you wanted to do that. I'm happy to do that. Let me show you my results really quick on work interests. So it gives you kind of, I talked about these different categories: the realistic, enterprising, social, investigative, so on and so forth. It explains that a little bit, but then this is where the students automatically go to, showing these occupations that match up. You can see that doesn't match up very nicely with what I do for a career. And I explain why that doesn't match up and how these are interests that I definitely fulfill in different areas of my life, not necessarily in my career. But if you went to the results of my values assessment, you can see that they're much more closely related to what I do. And that's worth discussion too. So what else we can do here is, you can see that we can look at our interests and see how those match up with different occupations. We can explore education, we can explore different careers too here. So I can explore different occupations. We can type in whatever occupation. We'll just go ahead and click in. Should have been better prepared for this one. Let's say animal scientist, just because it's right there. I honestly don't know what that might be. So animal scientist gives us general description, gives us how my interests match up with animal scientists, some of the skills that I might need for that. Of course, we're talking about values here too, some work conditions. Sorry, I'm probably making some folks dizzy here. Education requirement, this is important. And then, of course, we will have students jumping down here to earnings and seeing how much they might make in this field. So what this is doing, I believe this is tapping into the Occupational Outlook Handbook, some federal information. So it's really, pretty standard information that you'd find on the web, some governmental websites, ONET, Occupational Outlook Handbook, Career One Stop, different places like that are government ran, and the careers are well researched. Down here at the bottom too, if you wanted to explore this a little bit, I could see this being helpful with advising. You could look at, kind of the roadmap of what students have done in education and what they're planning to do in education. Same thing goes for professional development. What have they done for experiential learning? And what are they planning to do for experiential learning? This can help students kind of understand where they've been at and where they're going, some of the things that they need to do to get to their goals, really, and plan those out. I think it'd be really helpful for advisors to do that, and it's kind of a way to get students actually doing something, and then promoting discussion with academic advisors. So I think that is pretty much it with the focus system. But I can't emphasize enough, if you want me to come in to your class, you want me to do this on the web, happy to do this. You know, it's a great way for my office, for me to connect with students. And once I build that connection with students, of course, we see students in our office. And I like to believe that helps us all out once students start to do that. So go ahead and contact me. Let me know if there's anything that I can do. Again, we focus on the interest assessment, but I can go lots of different directions with this system. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you and work with you this semester.